Have you ever wondered what it would be like if Halo played like Super Mario Bros? And no, I don't mean like a 2D side scroller or a 3D platformer, but what if instead of the in-game checkpoint system that Halo had, it had the same life and checkpoint mechanics that Mario Bros 3 did? For anyone who hasn't played Mario Bros 3, there aren't any mid-level checkpoints, and if you get a game over, you have to restart at your last checkpoint, whether that be at the beginning of a world or a castle. So based on that, that's how I'll be playing through this game. Since Halo Combat Evolved only has 10 playable missions, I put the checkpoints at the beginning of every other mission so it's more balanced, and so there are repercussions for any mistakes I make. And here are the checkpoints in this order. Now let's get into the rules and the mechanics of how this is going to play through. Number 1, scoring school iron must be on at all times. 2, if I get a game over, I must revert to my last checkpoint with 3 lives. 3, game difficulty must be set to normal or higher. 4, 1 life rewarded per level completed. 5, maximum amount of lives I can have at one point is 5. And 6, no skipping missions no matter how frustrating it may get. This will make sense later in the video. Also, specifically for this playthrough, I also had the fog skull turned on just so I had a place to put the amount of lives I currently had left. Now without further ado, let's play Halo Combat Evolved, Mario style. Alright, so starting off with mission 1, the Pillar of Autumn with 3 lives. I woke up from a cryo nap and did some armor calibrating. After that was over, Captain Keyes ordered me to the bridge, and I unfortunately witnessed Sam being gunned down like John Marston at the end of Red Dead Redemption. After a quick run through the halls, I made it to the bridge.
Captain Keyes.
I got the girl.
Yank me.
And the captain gave me some of his hand-me-downs.
I don't keep it loaded, so you'll have to find ammo as you go.
Nothing noteworthy actually happened during the rest of the mission. I didn't die whatsoever, and I was already on my way to mission 2 with a total of 4 lives.
Now would be a very good time to leave.
So we're already on mission 2 Halo with 4 lives. The escape pod crashed and I was the only one alive, so I exited the pod, picked up the dead crew's ammo and made a dash for the hills. I met up with some survivors and Johnson and helped them fight off the Covenant. Foehammer then dropped off a Warthog and Cortana decides to point out the obvious.
This cave is not a natural formation.
I activated the light bridge and me and my marine buddy made our way out of the non-natural formation. I found 2 out of the 3 escape pods and rescued the marines, but as I was making my way to the third one, I was driving recklessly and drove right over the cliff and died for the first time. After that mistake, it was very disheartening, and like an impatient fool, I played through the mission again, but a lot more recklessly and quickly. I killed all of my comrades and made a break for the unnatural cave formation without a Warthog. I then encountered a giant gap and tried to grenade jump over it, then which led to my second death due to fall damage. So now left with 2 lives, after that death I came to the realization that I can no longer play recklessly like I always have because of the limited lives and the repetitiveness of restarting an entire level. So the mission restarted again, my crew died, I got their ammo and made a dash for the hills again, but with a much more level head. I played the mission cautiously and made my way back safely to the other life pods again, but not before getting pushed by 2 elites and losing 1 health bar. I saved the last of the crew, then hitched a ride with Foehammer to go save Captain Keyes. The end cutscene played and I finished that level with a total of 2 deaths and 1 additional life. So I already have a new checkpoint, and with 3 lives, the beginning of the mission started off pretty smoothly, and then I was immediately reminded that I don't have any peace of mind because a grunt decided to stick me with the plasma. So restarting the mission, now with 2 lives, I've gotten the hang of what enemies can cause the most damage if not kill me immediately, so I started keeping a mental note that grunts throw plasma grenades and so do elites. Jackals shoot fully charged plasma pistols to take out my shields, and elites will start to push me if they feel threatened or berserked. I continued on and made my way to the gravity lift with a few marines, thankfully, and had my first encounter with hunters. From the beginning I knew hunters weren't going to be much of a problem as long as I had a one-shot weapon. We made our way into the ship and thankfully again I remembered that there was a sword elite in here. Me and my marine buddies kept making our way through the ship until we made it to the docking area, which had a lot of Covenant forces, and I also encountered my second set of hunters, but this time I was alone. So I played defensively and I took them out one at a time with my sniper. After clearing out the entire docking area, Foehammer decided to drop off some more support troops and we slowly but surely made our way to the captain. We found the room that they were kept in and I also encountered my first zealot. I released the marines and got ready to babysit the captain because I wasn't sure that if he died it meant the level would restart over or if I would just go back to a checkpoint. I stuck to the captain like glue and we made it to the Covenant dropship with ease. So the ending cutscene played, I only had a total of 1 death and 1 life reward for mission completion. So we're already on mission 4, the Silent Cartographer, and with a total of 3 lives. Me and the marines stormed the beach and cleared out the Covenant. I got low on assault rifle ammo though, so I took out one of my marines and took his ammo. Really hope he didn't have a family. I made my way into the facility but got locked out by the Zealot just as I made my way into the hallway. Also remember the Zealot because he'll reappear later. I left the facility and encountered some more hunters on my way, and encountered even more in the facility that had the controls to shut down the security system. I then decided to make a risky jump down the cliff, and if it wasn't for my overshields, I would have been a very dead Spartan. So I made my way back to the facility that contains the silent cartographer and once again encountered even more hunters. Also, here's the perfect example of me being a god-awful Halo player, so enjoy this clip. I found the cartographer, then made my way out of the facility to meet up with Foehammer. Now remember that Zealot that locked the door earlier in the mission? I completely forgot he existed and ran right into him. Me getting that close to a Zealot made me incredibly nervous, so I made a dead sprint back to where I came from and dispatched the Zealot from a very safe distance. I made it to Foehammer safely and the ending cutscene played. I successfully completed the mission with 0 deaths and 1 more life rewarded, bringing my total back up to 4. God, where do I even begin with this mission? Spoiler alert. I die a lot in this one. Thankfully though, just a week prior to me recording the mission for this video, I tried to speed run through the mission so I can get the Par Time achievement, so I was a bit familiar with the layout, but alas, that didn't stop me from dying a lot. And I mean a lot. To try and keep this video under an hour, I'm just going to mention all the times I died. So the first death happened at the tail end of the mission on the bridge where there's 2 Banshees. I was being pushed by the Banshees while also taking out the ground troops. When I reached the door at the other end, there was more troops and I ended up dying by a Needler Super Combine. So after that attempt and realizing I was very close to the end, I was frustrated and started this attempt by being very reckless. I made it back to ground level and met up with the Marines, but one of the Marines had the bright idea to try and kill a grunt that was behind me. That Marine lit me up with the Warthog turret until I was down to a single HP, and I was being even more reckless and shot a rock by complete accident and blew myself up. So with each time that I was dying on this mission, I got more and more reckless, so I'm just going to go ahead and play this clip here. So now that I was down to 1 life, I figured that at that point, since I was on a checkpoint level, I would just jump off the edge and give myself a game over so I could reset my lives. Now that being my first game over. So I had my first reset back on Assault in the control room with 3 lives. To start, there was a plasma pistol that wanted to be a part of the wall, so here's some strange audio issues. Now, this attempt on the mission was actually going pretty great, and I managed to snag a Banshee and bypass the second to the last section of the mission, but I forgot one minor detail. There's a Zealot behind the door, so I'll just let the clip play. Just watch this. It's a little bowl. So after that death, I was really starting to question if this was even worth it anymore. I mean, like the idea of the video and just playing through the game like this. And I kept questioning if I should just skip the mission since I was so close. But I decided not to because I realized if I were to do that and still make the video, this would give the video and the credit, just throw it right out the window. So I stuck to my guns and kept going at it until I beat the level fair and square. So after the frustration and taking a little bit of a break, I was down to 2 lives and I was being reckless again. And a Banshee took advantage of that. Back to 1 life, reset, game over. Now being game over 2 on my second reset. There's only one noteworthy thing that happened during this attempt, and it was this. The death for this attempt though was just me getting caught off guard by an elite. So back down to 2 lives, I literally didn't write anything for this attempt. It was also at this point I wasn't even writing notes down anymore because I was just time stamping every time I died and how. 1 life, reset, edge, game over 3. After the countless failures, I was starting to get comfortable with the beginning area and was moving pretty quick. But even still, I decided that I didn't care how long it took. I would play it safe and slow, but that didn't stop me from accidentally blowing myself up with the tank again. Literally all I wrote on attempt number 2 on reset 3 was death by stupidity, so enjoy this clip. So now we're down to 1 life, but instead of jumping off the edge and resetting my lives, I decided I'd try to play through the mission, but even more recklessly, and since it was my last life, I tried to speedrun the mission, but that didn't work out. So we're on reset number 4, again a checkpoint, 3 lives. After the countless attempts and 13 deaths on this mission, 4 game overs, and an hour and 20 long minutes, I finally made my way back to the gate where that one zealot made me question if this playthrough was even worth it anymore. Now look, before I show this next clip, I know there might be that one Halo fan that'll say, "This is easy," or "You're just bad," or "This is nothing compared to Lasso." I know that I'm bad, to be frank, and I give a lot of credit to the people that complete any Halo game on Lasso. So I took out the Zealot from a safe distance with a lot of firepower and cautiously made my way back to the control room. At this point, I was sweating profusely, my heart was racing, and I could not stop shaking for a few minutes after that ending. The cutscene played, and with a total of 13 deaths overall, I was finally on my way to the next mission, and better yet, with 4 lives. Now starting this mission off with 4 lives, after what I went through in mission 5, I really didn't want to go through it again, so I played through this mission carefully so I could make it to the next checkpoint without any problems. After dealing with some Covenant baddies and taking out a crazy Marine who shot at me, I met up with Jenkins, or well, a lifeless corpse, and watched a recording that Jenkins took. And at long last, I finally encountered the Flood. Unfortunately, this was the only mission where I can actually maintain them and keep myself safe. After running around like a chicken with its head cut off, I finally got my hands on an old reliable, the Halo CE shotgun. I made it outside and met up with some Marines. I then made a mad dash toward the end of the level because I knew it was close. The ending cutscene played and I met the old floating ball of lies.
Greetings.
So it being my next checkpoint in 5 lives, I thought this level was going to be a lot of trouble because it's notorious for being challenging, but really only on like heroic or legendary. I beat the level with ease and wasn't caught off guard by any rocket flood. At the end, I made another dash toward the end and got the index. The ending cutscene played and I had a total of 0 deaths and no lives rewarded actually because I was at the maximum amount. So after learning the truth about what Halo actually does, I was rudely introduced into the Sentinels. And then right away I was killed by a plasma grenade, splash damage. So the second attempt was going a lot better until I was insta-killed by something I wasn't aware of at first, but on closer inspection, it was a shotgun flood who took me out. So after those 2 last attempts, I was getting really frustrated and I also wasn't aware that was going to be a lot more zealots on this mission. Thankfully, this guy was too busy paying attention to the flood to notice me, so I took him out with a quick bonk on the head. I ended up making it to the second pulse generator, but as I was going to leave, there's a bunch of flood behind the door, so I threw a plasma grenade, which ended up causing a chain reaction leading to my death. Alright, another attempt, and with 2 lives. To put it simply, I prefer the assault in the control room compared to 2 betrayals because you know what? There wasn't any of this. So with 1 life left, I decided to actually try to play through the mission instead of resetting to gain my lives back. If I were to do that, I would have to reset back to the library. But things didn't go as planned and, well, Zealot. So we have game over 5 and I have my actual first reset where I have to go back to the last mission. So we're going to be replaying the library. And here we are back on the most repetitive mission and here I am back trying to be a professional speedrunner. You can probably guess, but I died. So we're on 2 lives, again with rocket flood and crappy note taking, so go ahead and just watch this. And on 1 life, so I did a suicide reset. So I'm going to keep the rest of this mission short because I already played through it once and I already beat it with no problem on this attempt. The ending cutscene played again, I died a total of 3 times and I got my 1 life reward. So I made my way back to 2 betrayals and it's safe to say that I wasn't very thrilled to be playing this mission again. I decided for performance purposes I would switch to playing on my PC, so that's why this video might look a little bit more crisp. It was already starting off pretty rough because I was trying my hardest to lure out the rocket flood at pulse generator 1, but he got the jump on me and I couldn't get away in time. So we're on our second attempt with 3 lives and this one didn't last long either because as I was fighting the Sentinels, a grunt decided to Kobe me with a plasma grenade. So on attempt number 3 with 2 lives, to keep this one short too, I thought I could take out the Wraith safely from the sky in my Banshee, but like the grunt from the last attempt, the Wraith also decided to Kobe me. On my 4th attempt, my last life, the attempt to end all attempts. Ooh, this one's long. Now at this point, my patience was running thin and I really didn't want to reset back to the library, so in hopes of completing this mission on my last life, I took out everything slow and steady. Pulse generator 1 went smoothly and I was making my way to the second one. I juggled the rocket launcher and magnum all the way to where the banshees and hunters were so I could take out the hunters safely and deal with any stragglers. Now since pulse generator 2 did have a rocket flood, I tried to take out as many enemies as I can with the rockets and I booked it to the safety of the hallway. I snuck around for quite a few minutes and tried to spot any enemies that were still alive, and unfortunately the flood were alive and not the sentinels, so I couldn't tell which ones were alive. I kept sneaking around and was getting ready to make a jump on the flood elite because I remembered from the last last time I died here, it was a Flood Elite who had the rockets. I was getting close to him until another combat form started moving around and alerted all the others of my location. So I panicked and shot the elite combat form, and luckily for me, it was him who had the rockets. From this point on, I had no idea what was coming up next, so I played it safer than I was before. Again, to try to keep this video under an hour, I'm just going to mention any rocket flood I encountered. So this cavern that has the indoor bridge had 1 or 2 rocket flood, but I took them out with my Banshee. The indoor bridge had 1, and better yet, all the flood in here were hiding and waiting for my approach. This little battlefield here had a few, and thankfully had a ghost in some distance. Now this much bigger battlefield had 1, if not a few. While the Covenant and the Flood were fighting, I was picking off the biggest threats I could with my sniper. It took some time, but I took out every single last enemy and got into a Banshee. I was on my way to the 3rd and final pulse generator, but I had no idea what was in that room, so I picked up some rockets and grenades. After securing the area, I shut down the generator and the ending cutscene played, and Cortana teleported us out of there, and I beat 2 betrayals with a total of 8 deaths and 1 life rewarded. So after all the long attempts of trying to complete mission 8, I finally made it to mission 9, being my next checkpoint with 2 lives. And thankfully a week before I also sped ran this mission, so I can get the part-time achievement, and I was a bit more familiar with it. All was going well until I decided to stick a hunter with a plasma grenade, and he decided to follow me, which indirectly caused me to kill myself. So I have 1 life, and instead of doing a suicide reset, I decided to see if I could complete the mission with 1 life. I almost made it to the captain, but I got overwhelmed by the flood. That being my 7th game over and 7th reset. So back on keys with 3 lives. Nothing bad happened here, but my Magnum decided to just become a part of the wall like the plasma pistol. So I couldn't get it back, and I made it back to the ship, but unfortunately got overwhelmed by the flood again and was blown up by the carrier form. Once again, I made it back to the ship, but when I made it back to the docking area, some more Covenant spawned behind me and caught me off guard, then again leading to my death. So 1 life left, suicide reset. So after that reset, I decided to take a day break after the suicide reset, and this was the same day that Season 8 Mythic came out, so I apologize about any audio issues. After some time, I made it to the captain, but we were too late and he turned into a proto-grave mine. So I caved in his skull and got his neural implants. Everything was going smooth until an elite managed to throw a plasma grenade on me, and I refused to accept my fate for a minute, but finally unpaused my game to meet my demise. Starting the mission again with 2 lives. Just like the previous mission, I was getting very tired of replaying it, so I played it safe and made my way back to the captain, caved in his skull again. I made it to the shuttle bay and got in a Banshee. The ending cutscene played, and I finished mission 9 with a total of 6 deaths and 1 life rewarded. So I finally made my way to mission 10, the Maw being the final mission, with 3 lives. Before even starting the mission, I was already very worried about the Warthog run at the end because I wasn't very familiar with it, and the vehicle mechanics in Halo CE just suck overall. I guess the elite here didn't like me very much because when I threw a grenade at all his allies, he decided to do the same back to me and managed to stick me. After dying to that same rank of elite and by the same cause of death, I realized that that rank of elite was a lot more aggressive and loved to throw plasma grenades, so I had to try to be cautious around them because I didn't want to have to reset again. The rest of the mission was relatively easy, but when I uploaded Cortana to the ship, Guilty Sparks showed up and stopped the autumn self-destruct countdown. So instead I went and blew up the fusion reactors with some grenades. I'm aware I could have gone to the armory, but from what I remember there were some invisible flood combat forms in there, so I didn't want to take the chance. Cortana contacted Foehammer for a ride out of here, but as I was grabbing my Warthog to make my escape, we made it to the pickup location, but I just kept driving because I knew Foehammer wasn't going to make it out of here alive. I kept driving, and when I made it to the big drop, I was ejected from my Warthog, and thankfully I wasn't killed by it. With 1 minute and 23 seconds to spare, I made it to the longsword, and finally the ending cutscene played, Halo was destroyed, and the galaxy was saved from being wiped from existence. So here's the analysis of all my gameplay attempts, fails, and resets. I completed the game with a total of 31 deaths, 8 game overs, the most deaths being on mission 5, Assault in the Control Room, with a total of 13. Total playtime, 9 to 10 hours, and my favorite weapon being the shotgun and the Magnum. Now with the campaign finally complete and me writing the script, I thought I would look back and ask myself, would I do this again? And the answer is yeah. And I would honestly implore you to try it out as well. To anyone who is still here and listening, this is my first step into trying to create content that I enjoy and that has a lot more effort and love put into it. So for this being my first video I put a lot of effort into, I really hope you'll enjoy it. Now if you guys did enjoy and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe.